5 steps to super sales. Assalamu alaikum, this is your brother Mohammad Arshad, and in this video I'm going to be talking about 5 steps to achieving super sales, inshallah. So let's begin. Now I want to start by telling you that the reason I'm making this video is because I got a question from a brother. So let me read the question out for you. He said, I was hoping you could provide some advice. I joined this company 3 months ago and am now coming to the end of probation, which is being extended. It's a sales role, so I need to up my conversion and engagement. Do you have any tips or reads you would recommend, as I really want to pass, as I need the job or will be out on the streets? Okay, fantastic. So let me start by suggesting, before I suggest the 5 steps, I want to share with you a really good book. I think it's a great introduction to sales. It is called Sell or Be Sold. Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. So this is a really amazing book. I think it is amazing because it gives you a whole psychology shift on what selling is all about, how important it is, and why really it's the secret to all success, inshallah. So definitely check out Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone. You can listen to it as an audiobook, you can actually read it, and there's lots of summaries and videos about it as well. And he's a good guy to subscribe to if you're into sales anyway. So that's the book recommendation. Now, when it comes to the 5 steps, the first step I would say is take massive action. Take massive action, because what we need to realize is that sales is a numbers game, right? Of course you want to improve your conversions, but if I said to you, I'm selling something, let's say I'm going to sell, I don't know, some sort of a charger or something, okay? Now, if I ask one person to buy it, and, that is the only person I ask, what's the chances of me getting a sale? You might say it's very low, right? Because if I ask more people, the chances are there will be more sales. So sales is a numbers game. The more people that you approach, the more people that you speak to, the more people that you ask, the more chance you have of getting sales, inshallah. So the first step I would say is take massive action. Now, for you to take massive action, there's a couple of ways you can do that. The first I would say is organize to increase efficiency. Organize to increase efficiency. What do I mean by that is that if you're going to make lots of calls or speak to lots of people, it's important for your data to be organized. When I first started in one of my first sales role, we had this system, it was called Excalibur, and it would basically record everything, like a CRM system. It would record everything about the clients. You could type in the information. But one of the great things about it is that you could pre-program in your calls. So, for example, let's say I spoke to a customer today. I said, are you interested? He said, call me back in 3 months. Now, in 3 months' time, you can put a reminder. So when you get there in 3 months, all your calls for the day are organized already. So becoming more efficient, becoming more organized and methodical, what that means is that you can take more action. So that's the first thing within take massive action, is organize to increase efficiency. Now the second thing is one of the biggest problems that I've seen people do. Now this is not just in regards to sales, this is in regard to just taking massive action in general. Now what happens is a lot of people that I speak to, especially when I'm coaching people, they will be thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and overthinking, okay? So overthinking is a massive problem. In sales, you cannot be overthinking, because what happens is when you're thinking, you're not taking action. So the tip for this one is that don't think, do. Okay? Don't think, do. Now, of course, you want to think about things when they happen and after the calls happened and things like that. But what I'm saying is that do not let obsessive and overthinking stop you from taking action. So that's the first step, which is take massive action, because sales is a numbers game. The second step is build rapport. Okay, build rapport first. Now, rapport is one of the most important things when it comes to sales. What do we mean by rapport? Simply, we mean responsiveness. Okay, so if me and you have a conversation and we're in full rapport, whenever I'm saying something or I'm expressing something, you will always respond to it, right? You'll be saying, oh, wow, oh, okay, yes, no. And you're so responsive because there's great rapport. So simply put, rapport is about responsiveness. Now, one thing we need to realize is, how is rapport built? If it's all about responsiveness, rapport is built through the feeling of commonality. The feeling of commonality. So this is about me and you feeling connected because we have something in common. Okay? So the reason for this is because people like people who are like themselves. Okay, so one type of person I will like is someone who is like me. So for example, let's imagine that I do by the way, support Liverpool Football Club, and let's say that I read the independent newspaper, and let's say that I really, I don't know, like a cafe latte from Costa or something, okay? So now you imagine that I'm sitting in Costa drinking my latte with my Liverpool, with loving Liverpool and my independent newspaper, and at the same time, another Muslim walks in, he's got a beard, he's wearing a Liverpool FC top, and he's ordering the same drink as me, right? And he's got the independent newspaper in his hand. How am I going to feel about that person? Very naturally, I'm going to feel like I'm kind of connected to this person because that person's like me, okay? So, build rapport first. Now, within build rapport first, we said that one of the type of people that we like is people like ourselves, okay? But there is a secondary type of person that we like as well. Is not the person who's not like us, but the person we want to be like, okay? So for example, you might want to give speeches or help the ummah or help different people, but you can't do that or you don't believe that you're capable of doing it. Yet you see someone else out there who's helping the ummah and you think, yeah, you know what? I like that guy. Why do you like that guy? Because you want to be like him, right? There's some scholars and speakers you see out there, they speak so eloquently and beautifully, and you think, you know what? I want to be like that guy. So because you want to be like that guy or that girl, you actually like them. So remember, rapport building is so important, and it's the first thing that should be done. And the key to rapport building is commonality. And remember that people like people who are like themselves, or they like people who they want to be like, okay? And so you need to make sure that you are trying to pull those commonalities out. So when you're having a conversation with someone and someone says, oh, I'm really, really sorry, I've been really busy. What are you busy with? Well, I just got back from Hajj. I've been so busy since then. Oh, wow, amazing. Okay, you went Hajj. I went a few years ago. How was it this year? Right? Straight away, this connection, this commonality. So that's the thing I would say about rapport. So taking massive action and building rapport, this should be the first kind of things that we do when we're trying to get to super sales. Right. So the third step, this is one of the most important steps, is create the gap. Create the gap. Okay, what do I mean by the gap? The gap is right now, the customer, the client, the person you're selling to is right here. Okay, they're right here. This is the starting point. This is where they are right now. And they have a destination in their mind. They have a place they want to get to. They have a solution or a state that they want to get to. So what you need to do is you need to make it very clear in their mind that, look, Mr. Customer, you are here right now, but where you actually want to get to is here. Okay, and between these two places, there is a gap. Okay, so what you need to do is to make use of the gap in the best way. You have to create the best gap. Is you need to deeply understand their current situation. This is one of the biggest problems that salespeople have. They don't listen. They're great at using their mouths, but very poor at using their ears and their minds and their hearts. Okay, because the truth is that if you can understand your customer deeply, that increases the chance of them buying from you exponentially. So many times people are speaking to me, they're like, oh yeah, I feel like you understand me. I feel like you understand my business. I feel like you really know what I'm talking about. Right? And so that feeling of understanding is really important. And so when you're talking to them about the current stage, make sure when you're creating the gap, you're not assuming things. Ask them questions about their current state now, because that will help you to actually understand that current state so deeply. And that will help you in building that rapport again. And then when they tell you where they want to be, don't be afraid to make that gap bigger. What do I mean by bigger? Well, sometimes I speak to people and they're like, maybe they're doing £5,000 a month revenue right now, right? And I'm like, what do you want to get to? And they're like, £10,000. And I'm like, look, the time and effort it took you to get to 0 to 5,000 is the big one. Getting to 5 to 10 is short. So maybe your goal should be slightly bigger. So maybe the gap should be bigger. And don't be afraid to push them to another level as long as it's something that's achievable, inshallah, right? So the third step is create the gap. Now, the fourth one is really, really important. The reason why it's important is ultimately it's called make the pain real. Make the pain real. Okay? Now, what I mean by that is that there is a pain for the client where they are right now compared to where they want to be. Because of the gap, there's a pain. There's a big gap. They want to be here, they're here. And so because of the gap, there's pain. Right? So what happens is that we need to make that pain real. Why do we need to make the pain real? Because ultimately what you have to do is you have to get them to take action. Now, getting human beings to take action is difficult. It's difficult. Like, think about yourself, right? When you got to do something, sometimes you got to drag yourself, you got to push them, you got to like pull them, all this kind of stuff. You got to get them to move, right? And so what happens is sometimes people, they only make decisions, very, very rarely, unless they have to. Like, for example, right now, if I said to you, get your car serviced, maybe getting your car serviced is not a big priority. Oh, I'll do it later. I don't want to do it right now. There's no pain there, okay? But what if you are driving on the motorway and your car breaks down? Will you get your car fixed then? Yes, of course you will, because the pain has gone so high that your action threshold has gone down. So what we want to do is we want to increase the pain so that they take action. Okay. Now the way to do that is to paint the picture of the future. Okay. So like we said, they've got the current state, they've got the desired state. What you need to do is you need to say, look, I have a solution which will take you from where you are now to where you want to go. Right? What does it look like if you don't take this solution? Okay, so what you're doing is you're showing them the hell if you don't. You're showing them the picture of what happens if they don't go for the solution. So imagine they're struggling right now to understand how they should grow their business. What happens if they do nothing? Okay, paint that picture. Now, when I say paint a picture, you need to realize that there's a difference between a picture in your mind and a picture when I paint a picture in your mind. What do I mean by this? So if I say to you right now, imagine a house. Okay, I guarantee you the house you are thinking of is very different to the house in my mind. Okay, but imagine if I say to you, imagine a house in London. And it's a terraced house where all the houses are joined together, and it's a tiny house, and it has a black door, and it has yellow curtains on all the windows, and it has 4 windows. Now that picture you have in your mind is very similar to the picture I have in my mind, because I've painted it for you. And so what you want to do is, when you're making the pain feel real, you need to paint the picture. You need to paint the picture of the hell if you don't. If they don't do it, this is what it's going to be like. And the heaven if you do. So if you take the solution, what's the great state that they're going to get to if they take it? And so when you're painting this picture, you need to use emotion. You want to use positive emotions in terms of achievement and success and satisfaction and happiness, but also you want to use negative emotions for not taking action, right? Like sadness and anxiety and fear and all the kind of things that you'd go through. Now, of course, all of this is assuming that you have a great product, because that is the number one thing we should do for sales, is you really have a great product that takes you from the current state to the desired state. Everything I'm talking about is accelerating and improving your conversions, right? So like I said, make the pain real by painting a picture of the future state, hell if they don't, heaven if they do. So that's the 4th step. Now, the 5th and final step is have more certainty. Have more certainty. Certainty in the way that you speak, certainty in the way that you offer your solutions, certainty about everything, okay? The reason for this is, imagine if we are now out on the street, you're lost, okay? You're lost and you stop like we do by the side of the road and you say, excuse me, do you know where Gladstone Street is? Okay, and there's 2 guys there. And one of them goes, Gladstone Street, yeah, you go that way, 100, actually, no, I think it, you know what? You go that way, and you take the second left. I think second left and right. So that's guy number 1. Okay. Second guy number 2. He says Gladstone Street. Oh yeah, I know exactly where that is. You go straight down that way. You take the first left and a right, and Gladstone Street's right there. Now tell me, who would you follow? Guy number 1 or guy number 2? Every time I ask this question, everyone always says guy number 2. Why? What's the difference? How do you know who's right? You don't know who's right, but you follow guy number 2. Why? Because his level of certainty is so high. And his level of certainty overcomes the level of certainty that guy number 1 had, and it overcomes the certainty you have of being lost. So what happens is that when there's a conflict, the person that has the highest level of certainty, that's the person that's going to win. And so when you're speaking to your prospects and your clients and you're talking to them about what you offer, about what you do, about what state they are, about what state they can get to, if you have an extremely high level of certainty, that will overpower their certainty and they'll think, let's go with it. And this is usually what happens if you think about arguments and all these kind of things. The person that has the most certainty wins, right? So just to recap, the 5 steps to super sales. The first one is take massive action. Sales is a numbers game. Organize to increase your efficiency, and don't think, do. Number 2, build rapport first. Okay, we said rapport is all about responsiveness, and we said people like 2 types of people. People who are like themselves and people who they like who they want to be like. Okay? And then the third thing we said is create the gap. Okay? Create the gap. Understand deeply their current situation and understand deeply the future situation, and don't be afraid to challenge it. And then the 4th step, we said, make the pain real. Make the pain real by painting a picture of what will happen if they don't take the solution, the hell if they don't, and what will happen if they do take the solution, the heaven if they do, right? And the 5th and the final one is have more certainty, because your certainty will overpower their certainty. I hope this has really helped you to kind of increase your sales, improve your sales. If this is the kind of content you think will be useful for you, please, please, please subscribe, like, and also go to muslimceo.com, where you can get lots and lots of information about marketing, about sales, and the psychology of taking someone from being completely unaware to being a raving fan. muslimceo.com. Jazakallah khair once again for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.